everybody, today is another cooking day and we are going to do Asian hot chili prawns with bok choy and udon noodles. So we're going to start with the vegetables, then we'll do the noodles, and we'll do the prawns last so that we can pour the sauce on top. And I apologize that we have to be kind of sideways here, but that's just how this little tiny kitchen works. So we're going to turn that on. I have some avocado oil in here, and we'll just let that get warm. Follow up on yesterday. How about that? Colombia said, you know what? We'll take our people back. We don't want all those sanctions. So what that proves to me is that yesterday when I was saying that we need to follow through on our threats, you know, the Bible talks about that too. Don't pledge something unless you plan on following through. Better to say yay or nay than to promise something that you can't keep. And so I think that there is strength when we say we're going to do something, whether it's, you know, to help somebody, or whether it's to, you know, with our children in discipline, or with a horse, or with a dog, or with anything else, that we follow through. Because it's that follow through that has meaning to them. You know, you make the right thing easy and the wrong thing difficult. The right thing was to take their people back. The wrong thing was to say, no, I didn't want to. And so what happened? When they said no, there were consequences. They didn't like the consequences, so they decided, well, you know, the right thing might not be so bad after all. And I think that what it shows, especially with dealing with a lot of these other countries, they don't operate like we do. The Muslim countries don't. A lot of the Hispanic countries don't. They have very stern and harsh punishment for breaking the law, for doing things wrong. And they're also very corrupt in many ways. Not all of the countries, but a lot of them have been corrupt for many years, and things get done with bribes and this and that. Well, you know what? You need to break that cycle, because not a healthy cycle. It's not good for the people of those countries. And so I am really happy to see that we are kind of stepping up to the plate and doing things the right way. So I'm going to do the carrots first. And then I'll do the bok choy, and then we'll do the noodles and the prawns. It won't take very long. So for the sauce for the prawns, I have Sriracha and soy sauce in here. I have some garlic, some brown sugar, and I'm just going to go ahead and add that brown sugar to this and kind of make like a sauce. Then I have some hot chili flakes and some ginger, and I'm going to go ahead and add that in there too. And I just grated up some fresh ginger, and then that's just, you know, regular chili flakes like you get at the store. And then I'm going to do the garlic, and this is olive oil and sesame oil, and then some water. And at the end I have garnish of sesame seeds, some really hot Thai peppers, and some garlic scapes. It's that time of month that I'm getting kind of low on vegetables, so I always have carrots around. They store nice. The bok choy lasts a really long time in the fridge, so I usually have it around. And I'm running low on just about everything else besides what I canned last year. And I try not to go shopping but once a month. And, you know, in the pantry I have beans, and I have potatoes and that I canned, and, you know, I have some frozen corn, and I have peas and some other things. But, you know, I still like to have fresh vegetables. I think all of us prefer fresh. So, I think that what we should get from this whole thing is that, you know, to only pledge what we can follow through on. Don't, whether it's disciplining or whether it's a promise. You know, if you promise to help out at your kid's school and you can't follow through, then don't promise it. Let your yay be yay and your nay be nay. And that's a really valuable lesson for us all to learn, and for us to teach our kids, right? A lot of times what we see with kids these days is that they are overextending themselves, and they're making all these commitments and then they can't keep up. and then they have a crisis. Well, there's no reason for that. Help them set limits. And in those limits and those boundaries is actually where you find joy and happiness. And God has set us limits. You know, I firmly believe the older I get in particular, and I just washed this and chopped it up, is that God did all of the things that he did. He set the limits that he set, not to be mean, not to inhibit us. Oh, that's pretty big. I'm just going to tear this up a little bit. I really don't want to have to worry about cutting anything when I'm done, so I'm noticing some bigger chunks, and I'm just going to do that. He didn't say, I'm not going to let you do this because I'm a mean dad. He did it because he knows the end from the beginning. And he was like, you know, if they do this, they're not going to be happy. And you can look at Solomon. Solomon was the wisest man ever to live. He had all this wisdom, but yet he had over 600 wives. I don't think God wanted that. And he had wives that brought other religions in, and pagan religions, and all sorts of sacrifices, and Asherah poles, and if you look at the book of Ecclesiastes, Solomon was not a happy man. Well, I can just imagine. He had all of these wives telling him what to do this, do that, don't do that, you know, and his was like, he probably much preferred to be out in his kingdom than at home with all the bickering. And if you look at Proverbs, which for the most part people attribute to Solomon, there's several that say better to be, you know, here or there than on the corner of a roof than in a house with a nagging wife. So that gives you some insight to where he was at. And I can't imagine 600 women competing for one man. That had to have been a nightmare. I mean, you know, so he let his lust for beautiful women outweigh his wisdom, which comes from the fear of God. And when you go to Ecclesiastes, he finally comes back around and says, you know, there's only one thing that's really important, that's to walk with God. And I think many of us older folk can appreciate that, especially if we were a prodigal at any point, like I was. I never stopped believing in Jesus or God, but I stopped praying. I stopped going to church. I stopped listening to worship music. I stopped doing everything and anything that related to God. He was on a back burner. I forgot about him. And let me tell you, that pot burned dry and got corroded, and it was not a cookable pot anymore. It was not usable anymore. And why? Because I forgot about it. He deserves so much more than that. And as a parent, if you've ever had a child, you know, stop talking to you because they got busy or because they were mad at you or whatever, that hurts. It's, you know, it's just like a hole is put into your heart. And so I can just imagine, you know, God made us for his pleasure. He wants to spend eternity with us. He died on the cross so that he could spend eternity with us. He loves us that much. And so when we toss him aside and when we say it's not important, oh boy, I can't even imagine how much that hurts him. And so I just think it's really important that we keep him front and center. I'm just going to do this up a little bit more. I want them crisp, but I don't want them chewy. You know, I mean, there's kind of a fine line between overcooked and undercooked, in my opinion. And so we're just going to do that. Put the lid back on. So, anyways, today is 40 degrees here on the homestead, and I got the arena watered. It was so dusty out there. It was just horrible, and that's not good for the horse's health. And I couldn't ride in the arena without just being in a big dust storm. And so it felt really good to get that watered. There are chemicals you can use to keep the dust down, but because the clay here in Kentucky is so slick and dangerous in the winter that I let my horses just run free and basically live in the arena during the winter. And so I don't want them laying on all these chemicals. So I just use water, and it's worked. This is the first year that I ever got behind on the watering because normally it doesn't stay cold for a month. But the horse and donkey are out in the pasture, and I have to laugh because my horse is just shedding like you would think that it was March or April already. And the first thing he does when I turn him out is he goes and he rolls in the snow, and I think what it does is it's kind of like a cold bath, you know. It gets the dust off of him and it pulls a lot of the shedding hair off, and he just really, I mean, he just beelines to rolling in it. Now the donkey, they're a desert animal. He doesn't like the snow. So he waits at the gate like, Mom, put me back inside. But they need sunshine just like we do, okay? You know, they need that fresh air. They need the sun hitting their skin. They need to have all of those elements too. And so I don't like them to be inside if the sun is out and it's a nice day, unless there's a reason, like, you know, ice or slick mud. And right now the ground is still frozen enough that it's not slick, so they can be out. And then after I'm done cooking this meal, I am going to go ride. I haven't ridden in a while, and so I'm excited to get back in the saddle. Okay, so that's the vegetables. You can say not any, pretty easy. But I do want to get these last few things out. Okay, so the next step is a little oil, udon noodles, a little bit of water. And these only take a couple minutes. They're basically already cooked, so you're just pretty much just helping them separate up a little bit. Cover that a little bit. And then I already took the tails off the prawns, and they've had just a quick little cook, and then they'll go in last. They basically just need to heat up is all. So a little note when you're working with hot chilies, add them towards the end of your cooking, because you can get the whole house where your eyes are just burning and red, and it's not very much fun. So just a little hint on that. I did that once and it was not very pleasant. But you know, I didn't spend most of my life cooking from scratch, and so I didn't know. I was a working single mom. And my mom was a working mom, and so I'm going to add just a little bit of sauce to this. Really, I think the chili sauce is going to be adequate, but I think just a little squirt of Housang's not going to hurt anything. So I'm not sure what's next on the agenda. I really am looking forward to Bobby Kennedy getting confirmed. Mostly because I really feel like, you know, the same industry that took cigarettes and made them addictive, and alcohol and got them out there, and so many other things has been involved in our food industry to add sugar and add seed oils and add things that are very addictive. Okay, they're done. reason I say that is because they're starting to stick. Okay, so now I'm going to take the oil. We want to roast our garlic, and roasted garlic has a different flavor than regular garlic, so if you wonder why it's important to roast it, it's because it tastes different. And those are kind of the differences that, you know, you're going to find. I'm going to add just a little bit more oil. It was kind of chintzy on the oil. I was going by a recipe and so I think I told you, and this is brown sugar, Sriracha, and soy sauce. And then I have garlic and some filtered water. We're just going to stir this up. And there's also pepper flakes. And you want it to kind of thicken up and turn into a true sauce. It only takes a couple minutes. I'm going to turn down the heat a little bit. And you can see it's starting to thicken. And so it's going to have a sweet and spicy kind of element to it. So there's 2 teaspoons of ginger, about a tablespoon or so of garlic, a teaspoon or so of the hot chili flakes, 3 tablespoons of Sriracha, about a tablespoon and a half of soy sauce, a little less than a half a cup of water. So not a very complex. Boy, let me tell you, it smells good. Okay, so now we're going to take our prawns, which have already been cooked a little bit, so really this is just kind of a final stage. Toss those around in there. Cover it for a minute. What I'm going to do now is kind of do my plating. Put some vegetables on both sides. And the key with shrimp and prawns is you don't want to overcook them or they'll get rubbery. So they really don't need a whole lot. So I usually make enough for at least 2 meals. I just don't know how to cook for less. I haven't figured it out yet. Smells amazing. Okay. And that's that. So you can see that looks amazing. And then I have this, and I'm just going to do just a little bit to add a little bit of pretty to it. And some sesame seeds. And we are done. So, I hope you enjoy the recipe. I'll put it below in the comments. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today is the day the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. And I hope you enjoy this recipe, and God be with you and bless you and keep you and shine his face upon you and give you his countenance. I pray that all of you get a chance to share the word with somebody and use this time of free speech and awareness of God to be the light on a hill. And with that, I say amen. And God, thank you for this food. May it nourish, bless, and heal us. And thank you for all your provision and your goodness. And to you be all the glory. Amen.